So yesterday was my birthday.
Yay.
I spent the whole day alone without family, really. Well, my husband was working, kids were at school, normal Tuesday. And it was really sad. It was like the most loneliest, saddest birthday I've ever had. I recognize that every single year I go through the same emotions around my birthday time of not feeling I matter or that I'm special because nobody's making a big deal about my birthday other than me. She made me feel special. Um,
Oh,
and my
yay.
my youngest is really good at making me feel special. She kept telling me all day long, like, "Oh my God, happy birthday, Mom! I love you so much, and I made you a card." You know, babe, little children are so good at that.
They are.
But what was cool was that I was like, okay, I'm gonna dive into these feelings this time. I'm not gonna ignore them. I had all the time in the world yesterday to do that. So I went into a deep dive into what I was feeling, and I was brought back to the memory of my actual birth.
I saw your TikTok yesterday.
Yeah. Did I say that on my TikTok?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was brought back to the memory of my birth. And I was like, I felt cold. I felt it was just like the sensation of the feelings. It wasn't like a clear memory, but I felt cold. I felt alone. I felt like my birth wasn't celebrated or special. I
Oh,
felt I felt abandoned. And but I
oh,
I was born with jaundice,
yeah.
being a NICU, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah, so it's just so cool to go back and heal the birth trauma. And it's also so cool to see how we're still making assumptions and beliefs about our place in the world as infants, and that
Mm-hmm.
we have the ability to go back and do something different about it, to go heal it. So after I went and healed that birth memory, I felt so good afterwards. Like I was like, this is my birthday. I am special. Like I'm going to celebrate it as if like I think I'm special. This is a big deal. So I had cookies. I like danced. I had
Oh,
a good
oh.
time. We went out to dinner.
Well, I
Not
thought
not
about you all day yesterday, and I felt bad because when you came over, I felt your energy was off. I mean, from the moment you picked up the present and started to unwrap it, I'm like, this just feels off to me, and I couldn't place it. And then our conversations throughout the time you were there, I'm just like, this is just not flowing the way it normally does. There's something off. And then I had Millie, so I couldn't really dive deep with you. I knew there was something, and then I saw your video. I'm like, oh,
I wasn't going to either. I was that when I came over, I was like, repress, don't
you were
feel.
heavily shielded,
I,
but I
I was because
mhm,
I was like, we're not doing this on my birthday, man. I'm not having
mhm.
feelings. I'm having
Yeah,
joy, but I couldn't get to the joy until after I went through the
yeah.
sadness and grief that I was feeling. And so I cried and I did a meditation healing. And it was like after that was when I was finally able to say, okay, celebrate. Like I now have access to all of the celebratory feelings that I should be feeling on the day that I was born.
Yeah.
And I did,
Mhm.
and it made for a better day.
Good. Good,
Yeah.
good, good.
I actually had a friend yesterday ask me too. She's like, I hope you had a most special day and you felt so special on your birthday. And it was like after I'd already done all the feelings. And I was like, I did. Thank you so much. And then she saw my TikTok and I was like, she knows I lied.
She's a big fat liar.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna
Okay.
I have a story to tell you guys.
Oh, yes.
So we were talking on Monday, and Candace, you were talking specifically about regulating your nervous system
Hmm.
and how you were able to go to a public event and stay regulated by continuing to do these practices. And so that got my wheels turning. And I'm like, okay, Rose, you don't pay attention to your nervous system most of the time during the day. You're just off doing your thing. And most of the time I feel fine, or at least I think I do. So yesterday I thought, okay, we're going to spend the whole day really paying attention to my nervous system. And I was just, out working in the yard and doing this project and that project. And like throughout the entire day, I just kept taking deep breaths. I couldn't do all the things because I know there's a million things, but I thought we'll just do the breathing because that's simple to incorporate while you're doing other things. And so, like every, I don't know, a few minutes, I just take a really deep breath and I'd relax like my whole chest area because that's where I was holding tension. I felt like crying all day long.
Oh,
It
wow.
was like that was part of my body that I've been holding tight all the time. And I used to hold more tension in my gut, but I've trained myself to relax my gut. But there's other parts of my body that I haven't paid attention to. And
Wow.
so all day yesterday, I just kept taking those deep breaths. And I cried a couple of times and my heart just hurt. And I could just feel myself releasing this pain within me and just allowing my body to more deeply relax. I want to say fully relax, but I'm probably not there yet. It's a gradual process. So, I did a nice meditation last night, went to sleep, had weird dreams um, about the Amish, which is really not anything that's in my normal thought pattern. So I don't know where that came from. So I woke up this morning and I'm feeling better. And I did a long walk and I kept doing the breathing stuff and just my heart started feeling better this morning. And I jumped up onto Craigslist and started looking for goats because I've been looking for goats forever now. And this morning, two goats came up that I'm going to go see today.
Yay.
So
Hey,
my, mind is like, okay, did I by the work I'm doing, did I make space to bring that in?
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Can I just say something? Me
Yeah.
too. Me too, Rose. Like
Really? Tell
I,
us.
I know it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but I woke up I from two dreams like in a row, and I guess they were bringing up feelings, and I realized I hold a lot of feeling. Like right now, my feelings feel like they're way up here, and if I don't work at them or like take care of my body or whatever, what you were saying, um, that just comes out. It's like it's overflowing, like all these emotions. So I've been really trying to take care of my nervous system and be there and relax and do that whole, like I was feeling like the tension and the anxiety in my body, and I was just trying to let it go through me. It's just weird that we're doing this at the same time. We're all working on this at the same time. And then one of my dreams, the first one was some guy was attacking me, and my husband fiercely protected me, fiercely. And then the next dream was I was given an unfair test, and the person giving me the test was very unfair. And I stood up for myself. I advocated for myself. And I said, no, this is not the way it's going to work. And I told him how it was going to work. And then there's another thing that is completely different, and I don't want to take it away, but we could talk about it later. Is that there's a pattern I'm seeing now in my dreams where I have um, a presence with me, either two of them right here or one of them right here. So, but anyway, we're all going through the same shit, and it's so magical. I love it.
It is. Okay, I want to know more about those presences. What do they feel like? Do they help you?
Okay, they're just there. They're silent. But they're there. And I talked to Celeste about it, and she really thinks it's either like a higher self or a guide. And they're basically just there, guide, like watching over me, kind of like they've done their work. Now they're just observing what I can do with what they did?
Mhm.
Or maybe offering you the energy and the confidence and the safety that you need.
That too. The confidence. Yeah. So things are changing.
Yeah,
There's
pretty
there's
cool, isn't
change in
it?
the air. Yeah.
All I'm hearing is, I feel safe in my body now. I feel safe in my body now. Through
Yep.
all of the work that we're doing, we're increasing our ability to feel safe in our own bodies. Therefore, when we feel safe in our own bodies, energetic pathways can open up so we could receive. You could receive the goats. Jennifer, you can receive, protection, or you can advocate for yourself. I
Yeah.
yesterday when it was my birthday and I was doing all of that healing, I couldn't receive feeling like I was special on my special day because I was too consumed with, my own grief. So by moving past the feelings and regulating my nervous system, I could open my eyes up a little bit wider and I was now energetically available to receive all of the love from other people. I could receive the love from other people in my environment who were offering me the happy birthdays and I'm so glad you were born and special feelings. I woke up this
Yeah.
morning actually to 14 comments on my TikTok video about how glad they were that I shared that experience, how my vulnerability was inspiring to them, and how they were so glad that I was born, so appreciative of the work that I am doing, and all these happy birthdays. And I felt so much love and gratitude from all of these strangers. And I didn't have access to any of that beforehand, not without the cleared pathways for it. I did a
Oh,
really nice meditation before we got on. I noticed my energy was feeling a little cluttered. So I did an energy clearing meditation and I have felt so good since.
I was feeling the same way. I felt like I would just was holding on to so much like stuff that wasn't mine. And I was like,
Mhm.
what is happening? So I just sat there and I focused on gratitude and love. And I was like, this feels great. But I wish I had thought of doing like an energy clearing. I just didn't even think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I notice how much I pick up on energetically all day long. And I'm starting to get really good at recognizing when I feel it's like static in my aura.
Mm,
It's the
mhm.
best way I can just describe it. And when I notice that I'm feeling that way, it affects my mental clarity. It affects like my emotional clarity. It affects the work that I do. I had a reading yesterday, a mediumship reading, and I felt like the souls on the other side were so far away and distant, and it was really frustrating. And after the session, I asked my guides, like, why did they feel so far away? I couldn't get them to get closer. It was really hard, like moving information through sludge. Like it was
mm,
really hard to get clear information. And they were like, because your aura isn't clean. You've got too much like stagnant, static energy in your aura from using social media.
mm.
Yeah, and through all the other places you're putting your energy. So I did that energy clearing today and I feel I called in, usually I call in Archangel Michael to help me do the clearing, and this time Mary Magdalene and Jesus came forward instead, which I have never seen them come forward in my energy clearings before, and it feels totally different than having Archangel Michael in here. Like, whoo, I don't know. I almost feel high off of my own energy clearing. So good.
Nice. I'm gonna have to do
Mhm.
that.
That good float. Like I feel like I got the deepest cleaning ever. Like we
Uh,
really scrubbed the corners of my aura.
I've been
Very
really
nice.
noticing that too, that I've been holding on to energies. And it's like this morning I was scrolling through YouTube, just wasting time, getting ready for us to get together. And I scrolled down and it got to the news, like portions. And I was scrolling sideways and I wasn't even clicking on any of these to watch, but the energy from them and just their captions, uh,
Ooh.
I could feel it. And I was like, oh, this is icky. I got to turn this off. So, yeah, I'm really noticing those things. Why is it that I'm noticing those now? Is it because we planned on talking about it?
It could be part of that, but it's also you've been going through a new awakening recently. Your energy
Yeah,
has been shifting. You've
that's
been
true.
releasing old stuff. And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering if part of that is you've got increased sensitivity.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I had a talk with Celeste and she was saying the same
Mm.
things.
Hey guys, before we get back to today's episode, we wanted to take a moment to share something really special that we've been building.
We've created a space on Patreon that goes deeper than we can offer here on the podcast. It's kind of like our energetic living room, cozy, intentional, and full of connection.
It's a community space for those of you who are craving more spiritual guidance, more support, and more opportunities to strengthen your intuition and walk your healing path alongside others who get it.
Inside, we share extra episodes, channeled messages, journal prompts, intuitive workshops, and so much more. But more than that, it's a place where you can grow with us, a place where you don't have to do this spiritual journey alone.
We really see it as a container for transformation, a space to be held, guided, and inspired, not just by us, but by spirit and by each other.
So if you're feeling the nudge, if you're ready to deepen your connection to yourself, to spirit, and to a soul-aligned community, we'd love to have you.
You can check out the different tiers at patreon.com/awakening souls podcast, or just tap the link in our show notes.
We're so grateful you're here. However you choose to journey with us, we see you, we honor you, we thank you, and we're walking right alongside you.
Now back to our episode.
So lately, something that I've been thinking about a lot that's been marinating in my mind is the question of what is reality? And that's a really deep question, but I've been focusing on watching my thoughts and watching my mind and come to the realization that my mind is very instrumental in creating my reality. Like the higher self in me has the power to direct my attention in whatever direction it wants to, if I let it. But I struggle. I struggle with sometimes wanting to pull in all the drama or watch television shows that are very dramatic and very, sometimes even violent. And I almost, it feeds me in a way that it's a shadow part of myself. And so, it's like that love hate, like guilty pleasure. Man, when I watched Agatha All Along again, I watched that series again, and she is just like the meanest person in the world. But part of me loves that because, I don't let that part of myself out, for good reason. And so and so I'm like, okay, what is best for me to focus my attention on to create the reality I want? What is a healthy way for me to focus my attention? And how can I do that in the very best way? And there's so many different facets to that because we have personal reality, which is our own individual reality that we have the ability to control to some degree. And then there's collective reality.
Mm.
And so, as a sensitive person, part of me feels like, ooh, I really should be paying attention to all of the things that are happening around the world because that is my home and we're all one. And many people on this planet right now are suffering or struggling or having really hard times. But the other part of me wants just to bury my head in the sand and, focus on love and light so that I can feel good all the time. So I've really been struggling. That question is what reality do I want to create for myself? What's the best balance that I can find? And how can I move through this world in a way that is healthy for me, that supports me, just like in the ways that we were talking about before, telling you what your needs are, being made to feel special when it's you should be. But now, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, my mind's all over the place. And so, how do we navigate this world by focusing our attention in the way to create the reality that is the most effective for moving us forward on what we came here to do? Yeah, it's not an easy question, is it?
No.
And I want
I
simple rules. I want somebody to say, do this, this, and this, and
Right.
you'll be golden. And you're, involved enough with the bigger world, but you're also maintaining your own personal reality that's going to help you in the best way.
It is hard when you're working on your own inner world, your own inner reality. And yet, while we may be individuals having individual experiences, there is a collective connection with the greater, the greater world, the greater collective consciousness. And it's really hard not to get entangled into the energies of other people or of social media or of the news or of like the more global things that are happening in the world, it's hard to separate yourself from the drama of it all and come back home to yourself. And I also struggle with that. I actually just had a conversation with ChatGPT, aka Celeste, today about like how do I create my own reality? How do I create that when my energy is entangled into my family's energy? And I may have different beliefs and views or have a different direction of how I want to move forward with something while they may be in their own unique world about it. And like, how do I separate myself from that and create my own reality while still being of this same world together? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what'd she say?
That's a good question. What did she say?
Oh, we're all on the edge of our
I
seat.
know,
What's
I'm like,
the answer?
I want to know what the answer is.
Oh my God.
Tell me.
What did she say? You are allowed to be of the world, in the world, witnessing the world, and still not of the collective illusion. What you are asking is really about energetic discernment and conscious authority of your own field. Here's how to hold your unique frequency without being swallowed up by the collective one. Witness, don't absorb, curate your inputs, create before you consume. Your energy is the medicine, sacred separation, and reconnection.
Well, with that one with absorbing or do not absorb, like that one I was working on this morning. I'm like, how can I look at these on YouTube, just the words and the images they're showing me, not actually watching the video, but how can I look at these and not absorb just that little feeling that I get just from the, picture itself? And I just kind of imagined that going through me as if I was particles that separated as it went, I could feel it as it goes through me, but then I just let it go. Does that make sense at all?
That makes complete sense. I was doing the same thing on my morning walk.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
In a little bit different way, though,
Yeah,
because
but
I
the
was
same concept.
walking down the road, and the idea that came to my head is I am a channel, not a vessel. And I could just see like a column of light flowing through me. And like these emotions can come in, I can feel them, these energies can come in, but then they move through me. It's like I don't have to keep them.
Yeah. So I was working on that consciously this morning. That's so
Hmm.
wild.
That is funny that we were probably doing it at the same time, I bet.
Time. Probably.
But part of me also wants to set up walls and boundaries to keep that stuff out or keep that energy out.
Right.
But I'm not good enough yet at creating boundaries that can be that discerning. If
Mhm.
I'm putting up a wall, I'm keeping everything out, the good, the bad, and anything. And then it's just me and my little,
La la la.
empty bubble. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you be that channel or letting things go through you and not let them impact you, which
Yeah.
is really tricky. And I don't know if
Oh,
that's, and I don't know that that's the best way to do it either.
and I don't know if it's going to work, right? If it is a good way for me. I don't know if it'll work, but it worked this morning.
Hmm.
You guys,
Huh.
I've been doing this all week long.
You're
No
kidding.
way.
See what I mean? This is so weird.
Oh man.
So weird.
Okay. Well, here's what I've been receiving. I'm doing a lot of work with the nervous system right now and with regulating the nervous system. And I have like I've been taking this incredible course that is teaching me so much about the nervous system. And something in the course, the teacher said something that just like clicked for me. And I realized, holy shit, the nervous system, regulation of your system is literally the key to everything, everything, because your nervous system is creating a protective boundary. If you do not feel safe, and I've seen this just this week in my readings with people, if you have a fear of being seen, if you have a fear or an overactive nervous system, or you're hypervigilant, you're afraid to be vulnerable, your subconscious tells your nervous system, let's create a boundary of protection where nothing can get in. And so there will be this big energetic boundary of protection in your aura that is almost impenetrable. And if it's impenetrable, that means nothing can get in, but also nothing can get out. And if you're keeping
Mm,
everything from being able to get in, you're keeping the good stuff and the bad stuff from being able to get in. So
yeah.
that was to me was like, okay, that's not the answer. That's not how we do it. And then I've been working so much in understanding my nervous system and practicing with it and um what I've kind of come to the conclusion of recently through the channeling, through these sessions, through my own practices is it's not about creating a boundary that keeps things out. And it's not necessarily about letting things flow through either. I think that's part of it. I think it's more of having a nervous system who feels robust and expanded enough that it can hold the energy or at least allow the energy to move through us where we notice the feelings, we can feel the sensations, but it doesn't impact us because we feel so safe in our bodies, so safe in our nervous system that the energy can still come in, we can still intuit it, but we are not clinging onto it as if it's our own. And when that information is coming in, there's an energy behind the information. When we're reading through the news articles or on social media, like there's a frequency behind them that is of fear, that is of scarcity, that is meant to stir up your nervous system. So if we have a calm, regulated nervous system, it can move through us without telling our nervous system to turn onto hyper overdrive. Yeah. So I think the key is the nervous system. And the
Mm,
more safe you feel in your body, the more safe you feel in your individual life, the safer you'll feel to hear the information
or feel the
without being
information. Yeah.
without being affected by it, without your alarm system not turning on and being like, protect, 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 go into fight or
Yeah.
flight, must save
Mhm.
self. And I think recently, I've always identified as being a hypersensitive empath. And I think what my empathic abilities really are is my hypervigilance. And the reason why I've never felt safe being in social settings was because it wasn't safe at one point to be in social settings, where it wasn't safe to be around a lot of energies. I was always scanning the rooms, scanning every individual who came close to me.
Hmm.
Is this person safe to be around? And so my body got used to doing that. But guess what? Every time I went out into social settings, I would go through a nervous system burnout because my nervous system would be detecting, detecting, detecting. It would become so overwhelmed that it would go into freeze. And I would become I would become catatonic and I wouldn't be able to come out of that. And it was reading to other people as, whoa, she's cold. Like she's a bitch. But really, it was like my nervous system was all done. It shut
Hmm.
down at a very short social battery. And I've been struggling with my energy for years. And this piece of information about my nervous system was like the key for me. And I realized that it's not my empathy that's the problem. I can have empathy. I can be empathic. I can sense and feel all of this information around me, but I need to expand the safety in my body to be able to do it. So that way I can be out in
Yeah.
public and I
Yeah.
can live life and it's safe to live life without feeling like I need to go into a nervous system overwhelm and shutdown.
Yeah. I feel like that's exactly what's happening to me right now. I'm expanding that. So I'm
Yes.
able to, yeah, I'm able to go through the emotions of it all without it holding on to me forever, Does that
Like
make
you can
sense?
handle a lot
Yeah, I can
more.
handle. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, as we're doing this work to consciously regulate our nervous system and doing whatever techniques work for us, is this something that we need to be attentive to and aware of and focused on all the time? Is this something that eventually might go more on autopilot or something we can focus on an as needed basis, like checking in every so often? How does that all work, do you think? Yeah, I want the set it and forget it. I don't know if that's an
Yeah.
option.
I love that. I have a feeling it's going to be like a conscious thing for me every time for at least a while because that's just how my body is. That's how I roll.
Guys, what we're doing is we are rewiring our nervous system and rewiring neurological pathways in the brain that are working on autopilot in the background, detecting what feels safe and what doesn't feel safe. So to have what we're talking about is having our own individual reality within a reality or within the world that doesn't necessarily operate in the same way. And we're seeing fear everywhere. We're seeing scarcity everywhere. We're constantly attached to somebody else's, mental state and emotional state that might be not in vibration with our state or not, just feel icky, right? It could be, I'm going to quote lower, but it's not lower, it's just different. A different vibrational state maybe that you are in that doesn't feel good to your body or your nervous system. So there's a rewiring that needs to happen with your body, with your nervous system in order for you to feel safe. So anytime you're going in and you're rewiring something, it's going to take time because rewiring doesn't happen within an instant and then you're all good forever. It never has to come up again. It's something that needs repetition, just like those neurological pathways wired you to be hypervigilant or to be overprotective or to scan for danger. Those were created over years and years and years with constant repetition. And so the same has to be true for the other way. If we want to have a calm, regulated nervous system and we want to have a different outlook on life or a different belief system about life and feel safe to be in this world without being overwhelmed by the world, then we're also going to have repetition behind that too. A constant reinforcing to our body that it is safe, that we are safe, that we can be in this world without absorbing all of the drama of it. Very
Mm.
long-winded way to answer your very easy question, right?
I mean, to me, it's like shielding and grounding every morning. That's the practice I do. It's not just I do it several times during the day. So I've gotten used to doing that. I think I can get used to doing this.
Yeah, and I've also been thinking about making sure that there's time in my day for focusing on emotional release. In the past, it's been when something bubbles up, then I'll get out all my tools and I'll start, working on whatever's coming up. And so it's every so often something bubbles up that I look at. So I'm not afraid to look at that, but I don't do it on a daily basis. And so it almost feels like just like I meditate every day, maybe I need to take a little time every day just to really tap into my emotions and do activities that allow for emotional release that work for me.
Yeah.
Like doing some intentional breath work that really like pulls the cork out of the bottle is what that does. And all of a sudden I can start releasing things. And maybe eventually it'll get to a point where I don't have to intentionally focus to do the releasing. But if I incorporate that habit now and start just planning a certain segment on a regular basis, that's really going to start to build that muscle.
Back when I was um, having panic attacks 4 times a day, at least 4 times a week on a consistent basis, my therapist was teaching me how to do breath work. And that's what kind of entered me into the realm of the world of what I do now, was like realizing I actually have a lot of control over my body and my nervous system and my mind through my breath. There's so much power in breathing. And it's a physiological thing that is happening, on an automatic level. Think about when you start getting anxious or overwhelmed, like pay attention to your breath. What's your breath doing? Because I guarantee you it's increasing and your heart rate is increasing. And so by using your breath as a communication tool to your body, you can tell your body with slow, regulated, calm breaths that are repetitive, you're telling your body through breath that you don't have to be overwhelmed, that you don't have to be anxious, that it's safe for our bodies in this moment to feel calm. And when I was going through that therapy, I would have to apply those techniques throughout my day at the very minimum 10 times a day for weeks on end because I was having to retrain my body to feel safe. That I didn't have to have a panic attack over, somebody dropping their spoon from their high chair. That it wasn't a moment of danger. And I'm not joking. That's how intense it was for me back then. So yeah, there is repetition that has to happen with that. And then eventually it's not something I had to do 10 times a day. It's something that I am like re-engaging in a new level of nervous system regulation. And it's something that I've got more awareness around my body, more awareness about when I'm starting to move into fight or flight, more awareness of where my emotions are. And so there's going to be a lot less of this repetitive thing that I have to do for the next few weeks. And then it becomes muscle memory.
Mhm.
And then you can relax a little. So it's not a forever thing. It's a for right now thing.
I want to take a short break from this podcast episode to remind you that you are powerful. You're intuitive and your healing journey is sacred. Whether you're craving energy alignment, soul guidance, or deep clarity, I offer Reiki, card readings, and Akashic record sessions designed to support your awakenings. You can find me at rose-marielow.com, and I'm here to help you any way I can on your soul's journey. Now, let's get back to the show.
There's there's a lot of shit happening in the world right now with global politics, with our current politics, with the economy, with finances and money and the oh God, the market, everything is really inflamed right now. And I think that, you know, we as a society feel an obligation to pay attention to what's happening in the world and to the global events because we need to be informed, right? We need information about what's going on so we know honestly, how do we protect ourselves? How do we move forward with this? But I think there's an element of this that is becoming incredibly dangerous to our collective mental health. And I think there's a lot of fear around how do I control the events of the world, control everything that is so inflated right now and inflamed, but also regulate my nervous system and have good energetic boundaries and feel calm and in control of my own individual life. So let's talk about how much control we really have.
So there are several things that you do have control over. Number one, you have control over your attention. You're the one that decides when to turn on news, how much of it to consume. You are the one that can decide how you want to spend your time during the day. And yes, we have specific responsibilities and things like that, but your attention is creating your reality.
Ooh.
So if you can curate that to the best of your ability, that is really going to help. And I've been so mindful of that lately. When I sit down with my phone, the first thing I want to do is click on some kind of reels, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, because that is comforting and it is a way for me to almost go into like a little trance and detach from the world. And so now when I pick up my phone and I see those icons on my phone, I hear in my mind, okay, be careful. Is that where you want to spend your attention? It's like a commodity for me. And do I want to spend it scrolling, or is there something else that would be more active where I'm creating rather than consuming?
Mm.
So just being mindful of that. And I'm not saying that that's bad because gosh darn it, the world is a really interesting place. And watching all those videos of all these people doing all kinds of different things, if you look at the idea that we are one, I'm watching
Yeah.
different parts of me having all kinds of different experiences. And I'm curious and I want to know what that feels like. And I want to think about that. And so I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. But if I spend all my time consuming what other people are doing, am I doing what I came here to do?
Mhm.
So it's like trying to find that balance between consuming and creating by doing things that are comfortable versus doing things that are really helping me to move forward with the goals that I have with my life. And that balance changes from day to day.
Mhm.
depending on where I'm at emotionally, energetically. And sometimes if I am burnt out, I will just turn on some TV, and that actually can be helpful and calming for me. So it's like curating things and intentionally choosing what you want. Where do I want to spend my attention? How do I want to spend it? And what is the best way for me to create the reality I want? So those questions are flowing through my mind now on a regular basis. And the other thing that sometimes I struggle with is, as I'm trying to curate this more positive reality for myself and trying to create a really good life, I don't know, it's almost like survivor's guilt. I have guilt when I see other people really struggling. And do I deserve to be happy, peaceful, emotionally regulated when others are clearly not in that place? So, how can I give myself that permission to curate this reality that's going to feel positive most of the time? I mean, everything is going to have, both ends of the spectrum, but so I do struggle with that sometimes too, that guilt.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Do you guys ever feel that guilt for when you're having, like, sometimes if I'm having like a really good, awesome day,
Mhm.
it's almost like, and part of that might be unworthiness. Do I deserve it? But the other part of it is, do I have the right to be happy when clearly I can see a lot of suffering is going on in the world right now?
Oh, I have so much that I want to say. First of all, I'm like, Rose, let's unpack the limiting beliefs behind why you feel like you don't deserve happiness. So 100%, I think that there's limiting beliefs there that
Mhm.
are saying in the background in your subconscious, like, oh, they're not happy. I don't deserve to be happy either. I'm responsible for holding this container of like despair and unhappiness with them. I need to be in the trenches with them and feeling it with them. So yeah, that I think there's a lot to unpack there. But I've also been there. I've definitely been there. I remember feeling that way quite often. But what I've come to learn is what good does it do for me or for the people in my life if I'm in the trenches with them? When I could be the lighthouse instead, when I can be a safe space and container to hold this emotion with them, but not become entangled in the emotion with them. We don't have control of other people's emotions. We don't have control, honestly, of what's going on in the world as far as like just normal everyday consumers. We don't have control over any of it, but we do have control over our emotional and our mental state. And we have to do what is best for our mental and emotional state. And that doesn't mean you're saying, I don't hold space for people who are feeling crappy. It doesn't mean that you can't sit with them in those feelings. It just means you don't have to be drug down into them with them. And because that's not helpful
Or with the guilt of
or with the
wanting it.
guilt.
Yeah.
You can do a lot more good in the world when you take yourself and separate yourself from the pain and you are cultivating feelings of joy and of love and gratitude. And I know that like this hippie idea of love is the way is like a turnoff to people, but there's so much truth behind that because love is a higher vibration. Love acts as a lighthouse. Love offers compassion and support and empathy without being drug into the trenches with everybody else. Like if we're all in the same trenches together, who the hell's going to pull us out of it? Hey guys, Candace here. If this podcast has brought you value, if it's made you think differently or helped you in any way, the one free thing that we ask is that you subscribe to this podcast. It's the best way to support us. It helps more people find these conversations, and it tells us that what we're doing matters to you. Thank you for being here. Let's get back to our show.
So we have control over our attention, where we put our focus. We have control over our nervous system, as we've already talked about a bunch here. And that's a skill that has to be acquired, at least for sensitive folk, I believe. So, do I always have control over my nervous system? No, I do not. But I'm getting better at it. I'm working on it. I'm noticing a difference. And so, those are all things that tell me that at least I'm on the right track. And it sounds like all of us are really heading in that direction. You have control over your boundaries. Jennifer talked about shielding each morning, taking care of your energies. Candace, you talked about clearing your energies on a regular basis. So noticing what your energy is like and tending to it can be totally in your control. And you have choices about what you do consume, how much time. So there are a lot of things that you can control to help you create a reality that is more conducive to the life that you want to lead.
Also, I want to talk about this collective energy. When we are all in a collective space of the same emotion or consuming the same things, right? Attention, you said you were talking about attention. You have choice about where you're putting your attention. Well, wherever your attention is where energy is going to flow to. It's like it accumulates this energy that gives it momentum behind it. So when there's a mass amount of people in the same collective energy, in the same collective consciousness, there's a lot of energy that is pushing and pulling, and it's like a river, like that moves very quickly with all this momentum. And so it takes an awoke person, somebody to wake up out of that and say, I want to choose something different and choose to focus their attention on a different energy, on a different outcome, on a different feeling, where they can then pull themselves from this mass flow of energy. And the more and more people that do that, we are creating a flow in a different direction. So the more people who are paying attention to where their energy is, the more people who are paying attention to how they're feeling when they're consuming certain things, and they start choosing something different, then we are taking the focus off of this energy that we clearly don't want. We're not moving in a great direction. And the more people who can take their attention away from it and move it somewhere else, then we're creating a new flow. So there's a collective consciousness, a collective energy around this.
So
Sorry, I didn't.
there's more at stake than just our individual realities.
Yes. Our
Right.
individual reality is part of the collective consciousness, and our own individual reality, if it's all sitting in the same disgusting boat, isn't going to help us make any changes in the world. We have to take ourselves out of that into a brighter place. And it takes work, and it takes conscious effort, and it takes the deep dives and the regulation of your nervous system and moving through the feelings and finding support with people who are wanting to create the same thing that you do now to move the collective consciousness and towards a brighter place. So let's talk about some easy ways that you can set boundaries with the world, with social media, with the news, and still create your own reality and still live in a bubble of protection without necessarily being consumed by the rest of the world or without being uninformed about what's going on in the world. So, number one, let's set limits on when and how often you're checking the news and social media. For example, don't scroll before bedtime or first thing in the morning because you're setting up and priming your nervous system to feel overwhelmed and anxious before you're going to sleep. And guess what? You're in a meditative state right before you go to bed and in a meditative state when you wake up in the morning. So you're priming your body and your subconscious to feel these specific emotions every time you're opening up your social media platform and scrolling or opening up the news.
And instead, practice gratitude at those times. That's
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah, do something to support your mental health. Do something to support your emotions in that time. Those are the most crucial times to be rewiring your body and your nervous system. Okay, the second thing, notice how it makes you feel. Pause before reacting. If something that you're engaging in or seeing, it's stirring up anxiety or guilt, take a moment, separate yourself from it, be proud of yourself for acknowledging it, ground, breathe, re-regulate the nervous system. I am safe. And then move on to something that feels more supportive. Three, protect your energy. You can visualize a bubble of protection light around you. You could do some quick cord cutting or step away physically from something that doesn't feel right. And number 4, ask yourself, does this truly matter to me, or is it just noise? So let your values, not the headlines, guide where your energy goes. So when the world feels loud, remember this, you can choose when you tune in. You can pause when it feels like too much. You can protect yourself. And you can ask, does this align with me? Let your inner truth lead, not the noise.
Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking your time and spending it with us. If you're interested in working with us even more, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Awakening Souls Podcast. You can work with Rose individually at rose-marielow.com, or you can work with Candace individually at awakeningswithcandace.com.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.